Today, we geek out about Animo. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Lee from Geek City USA here, and today we're going to talk about a game called Animo. Now, Animo is coming to Kickstarter at the beginning of February, and it is a Christian-themed card game that's kind of on par, similar style to a Pokemon. So I'm going to take you over here, I'm going to give you a rundown on how to play the different game modes, and then I'll come back, give you my review, and let you know my thoughts. Alright guys, so this is Animo. So first things first, this is a prototype copy, and this is a starter deck as well as there were a few booster packs here. And I know that since I received this prototype that the model of Animo has kind of changed to be a more all available at one time. So just keep in mind that this is a prototype copy. So I want to take a look first at the cards that are in the deck. So this is half the starter deck here. They're actually, I think there's a few booster cards put in here as well. But typical of like a battle kind of card game, you have your characters, your Animos here, and you have your story cards, which are kind of action cards that you could play one per turn. You have your Sinnies, which these are the sins that you're trying to defeat, so the evil characters, if you will. And then you have your power cards, and these are similar to like a mana in a Magic. And then finally, you have equipment cards, and these are upgrades that you can add to each of your Animos. To show you how geeky that I am, I absolutely love the fact that there is a Tatawan and an upgrade of Obeywan. This is awesome. As the Star Wars nerd in me greatly appreciates that part of the game. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I want to point out the Sharpen Your Sword gameplay mode. Now this is the gameplay mode that we played most in our house. It's the head-to-head style of the game. Alright, so again, as I'm going through this, keep in mind that this is a starter deck that's split in half. So when you're playing, typically you will have more cards to play with. What I have here, again, this is from the starter deck and the booster pack. So I'm going to move these aside here, and this is the two decks that I've made out of it. Okay, so on your turn, you're going to have phase one. And that's where you're going to reset any power cards that you have. We haven't played any yet, so obviously we don't need to. And then you're going to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. Phase 2 then, and you can do these in any order, you can play 1 power card. So this is like playing a mana in Magic, or I believe it's called Power in Pokemon, I'm not 100% sure. But you could play only 1 per turn. And then you can play any number of level 1 Virtuous Animos that you want. To a maximum of 4. You can only have 4 in what's called your small group. And if you look, they have a level 1 here. Some have a level 2 or level 3, and those are upgrades where you can play to grow your Animo and make them more powerful. So let's say we'll just play these 2 here. You can also play a Sinny, and this is a card that your opponent will then have to defeat. So if you see this has a value of 5, your opponent will have to defeat this guy, so Fibbits, before he can get any more points. However, if he defeats 6 of your Sinnies, or 3 if you're playing the way we do with the half a starter deck, they would actually win the game. So if I wanted to play this, I would play that facing my opponent. And then here we have an equipment card, and this you can play on your Virtuous Animos to give them more strength. So this would take Stagnetic from a value of 9 to a value of 14. Now you can also, at this point in the game, you can play a story card if you have a story card in your hand. Here's one for example. Whereas like this one here says, you reshuffle your entire discard pile back into your deck. And you can play 1 story card per turn. You're also able to discard any cards from your hand if you want to empty out your hand to be able to draw more cards, or whatever other reason you might want to do that. So then in phase 3, you can activate your powers. Now in order to do that, you need to pay the cost. So if you look here, this has 2 blue flames. So you would need to tap 2 faiths, and then this purple means any. So you can tap 2 faiths and 1 of anything else in order to activate him. Now let's say I had, let me see here. Let's say I had 3 faiths on the table right now. So what I could do is if I wanted to, I could tap the 3 of these, and then I could activate Stagnetic. Now when you activate your Animo here, you are actually gaining points. So right here, this is 14 points. I would score 14 points and then Stagnetic and his equipment would go into my discard pile. Now, if my opponent had a Cine played on me, I would have to defeat that Cine. So, for example here, if my opponent played Fibbits, out of these 14 points, 5 of it would have to go to defeating Fibbits, and then the other 9 I would score. So I would score 9 points and defeat 1 Cine. So this would take me one step closer to having the 6 Cines, or 3 in this case with half a starter deck, but it would take me one step closer to winning the game. And then once you activate your Animo, he's going to go in your discard pile, and then your opponent would take their turn, and on your next turn, you'd start by resetting all of your powers. You would draw up to 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you would continue your turn. So in this case again, you could play as many level 1 Animos as you like. Here I could play Tadawon, my favorite. And then here I have Obey 1, and I can instantly upgrade him. So he is no longer worth 4, he is now worth 10. And then I could play a couple more guys if I'd like. Now if you look here, these are level 2s and level 3s. So it would actually do me no good right now because I don't have their base character to upgrade. And you would continue going back and forth until, again, one person hits 60 points or defeats 6 Cines, or in the case if you only have the 1 starter deck, it would be 30 points or 3 Cines. And that is the Iron Sharpens Iron game. Now another way to play Animo is the Hide It in Your Heart game. And when you play this, you're going to deal 5 cards out to each player, and they're going to set their cards down like so. So you're going to make kind of a cross or a plus sign. And this is called your heart. And then before you play, you can look only at your center card. So you would flip it over and glance at it. And you can always look at that card as much as you want. Now the goal of this game mode is to end the game with as many points as possible. So then when you take a turn, you start with the draw phase, and you're going to draw 3 cards into your hand. Now you can draw them either from the top of the deck or from the discard pile. And then after the draw phase, you have the swap phase. And during this, what you're going to do is you're going to take 1 card from your hand, and you're going to want to swap it out with 1 in your heart. When you swap a card, it goes face up. Unless you're swapping the center card in your heart, that always stays face down. And you are only allowed to swap once per turn. So when you do it, you take your card, and then you can look at the card that you're going to swap with, but you've already committed to swapping these cards. So then your new card goes in place, and this comes into your hand. And swapping cards is completely optional. Next you have the power-up phase, and in the power-up phase, you could take a power card that's in your hand and play it on one of your Animos. However, it must match. So for example, I could not play the love power on this guy because he requires faith. I'm sorry, he requires hope, which is the sunshine. So I can play this power card onto him, and that gives him 1 additional point. So now he's worth 10 points. And then to end your turn, you're going to discard 1 card, and I'll discard the story card, and it leaves me with this 1 card in my hand, and that would end my turn. And you're going to keep going around the table, and then when you get to your turn again, you're going to draw back up, and you're going to keep going. You're going to replace a card with 1 there. Oops. And then you could play a power up. I don't have anything to power up. And then you end your turn by discarding. So the game ends in 3 ways. As soon as every player has all 4 of the corner cards face up, the game will end. It'll also end if somebody yells, "Search your hearts." And then finally it'll end if there's no cards left to draw. If somebody ends the game by yelling, "Search your heart," everybody has 1 last turn to get higher points, and then you're going to total your points up. Now, if the person who yelled "Search your heart" doesn't actually have the highest point total, they're going to lose 10 points. So you got to be careful if they don't. If you say that and you don't have the best hand, you want to definitely make sure you have a good hand before you say that. So then you're going to total your points. Story cards and equipment cards are worth 1 point each. Power cards are worth 1 point each, as long as they're attached to a character of the similar power. And then if you have any Cines, so if for some reason you flipped a card and that was what you exposed, you would actually lose 6 points from your total. And this is a good game mode for us that we'll play with our younger kids, so that way they can be included and play Animo. And a third way to use the game is what's called Animo training. And this is really a parenting tool. Each of the cards will have a topic, And it's something you could sit down and discuss with your kids. Maybe this is something they need to work on. It could be used as a Bible memorization tool, a Bible verse. So, they could sit down. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And you can sit down and work on this with your kid, and they can take this with them and reference it throughout the day. This one, for example, forgiveness, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. They can go through these and they can memorize the verses or help them work through different situations in life. All right, guys, that is Animo. So let's take you back up top and I'll let you know what I think. All right, guys, so this time I figured we'd do things a little different. If you notice, for the first time ever in a review, I have some company helping me out here. This is Logan, and he's been my primary opponent when we've been playing this game. So Logan, you've played Magic, you played Pokemon. Mm-hmm. So what did you think of Animo?
I liked it. I liked how it was kind of related to both Pokemon and Magic. I liked how every kind of card, it had something called a verse. I just kind of liked that whole aspect. Another thing I liked about the game is I liked how there were levels. One more thing I liked about the game is there were attachments. There's sort of the spirit, which you could attach to a character, and you could make it, which gives it 5 extra points. So I just liked that whole aspect.
All that being said, what was your favorite character?
My favorite character is probably Armorino. He's on the box, but I don't like him just because he's on the box and he's like the main character, like a Pikachu in Pokemon. I just liked how he was, and I loved beating my dad.
You did. You absolutely, the most recent time we played, you absolutely smeared me with him. It kind of breaks my heart a little bit, though. I can't believe that Tadawan or Obi-Wan was not your favorite, because how could you not like the nod to Star Wars?
I don't know.
All right, so let's move on to the art. So for me, I enjoyed the art. I thought it fit perfectly for the theme of the game. What about you? What's your thought on the art?
Like, I just loved the art, honestly.
So Animo, this game, will we keep playing it?
Yes.
You like the
definitely.
game? All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm Lee.
And this is Logan.
And really appreciate you hanging out with us and checking out Animo. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Definitely let us know your thoughts. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep. Thank you.